the problem for me is this. I don't recognise any of the people in that film. I mean, for all the universal truth about turning middle age, and I have turned middle age, I'm about to be 50, and for all the apparently universal truth about conversations with your wives and your children, I look at these people and I think, I'm from another planet. I don't have anything in common with them, and I don't have these conversations, and I don't live in this world. And it's a world which is extremely rarefied. I mean, firstly, has any man ever actually had a conversation with his family in which he said, I so wish that at least one of you had a Mr. Happy? I just don't believe that particular joke. It comes from a rarefied strata of comedy writing that doesn't impinge upon my world. Also, they're all doing extremely well. For people who are in terrible financial straits, it's the best looking terrible financial straits I've seen in a very long time. We keep hearing that they have to sell the house, but there's very little evidence of actual poverty. We keep hearing that he has to give up cupcakes, but he's not actually in any way fat. We keep hearing that they're both aging, but then neither of them is showing any evidence of aging. And I sit there watching it thinking, who are these people? Now, there is, and you brought this up, the joke about the Wi-Fi. Okay, and that for me was a moment that works. I thought, okay, I recognise that. I do recognise that. The joke about how many hours of computers, and yes, that is. But when that's what you're hanging on to, that's not enough. Now, here's the problem. Both you and he said that you found it very funny, and I think you enjoyed it a lot more than I did. My problem is this. I think he thinks it's very truthful. That's the word that he used. And I think if it were very truthful, it could get away with not being funny. As it is, I don't find it particularly truthful, and therefore the absence of laughs in it is problematic. The Megan Fox role, incidentally, is all over the place, and you could take the Megan Fox character out and have an extremely long debate about exactly what on earth that character thinks it's doing in this film. But in a way, for me, you don't even need to go that far outside it. I sat there for an awful lot of it just thinking, essentially, you love these people in real life. They are your family, and you love their company. And what that's done is it's made your indulgences all the worst. I mean, the gag which is doing the rounds of the critic circle is this is 40 minutes too long. It is way too long. It needs to be trimmed right down. It is playing to a universal truth of middle-aged life, which I do not recognise as having any, it's like the Morrissey thing, this says nothing to me about my life. Sorry to quote Morrissey, but that's how I feel about it. And in the absence of truthfulness and insightful portrait of family life, I'm left with something which needs to be funnier, which it isn't. I mean, there are some gags in it that are fine. It's got Graham Parker in the Rumour. That's lovely. How lovely to see them, playing, and that's absolutely brilliant. And he is actually very funny in the gag about your man from Green Day turning up and saying, oh, you got a song on Glee, brilliant, you're made. Those gags are individually funny, but you have to be one of two things. You either have to be insightfully truthful and painful, or funny. You can't be neither of those two things, but just enjoying spending time with your family on screen. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but it is terribly indulgent and terribly sure of its own insight. And I mean, believe me, I say that as somebody, even though I say those words, I understand that terribly indulgent and terribly sure of your own insights is something that could be easily thrown at me. Do you look at those people and think, yes, that resembles a midlife that I recognise?
Well, some of the stuff they're going through, my life is not like their life, but some of the stuff that they're talking about and the issues with their family, I think it would be fairly common to you whether you live in Walthamstow or Los Angeles or Strathclyde. I think some of the husband, wife, kids, friends things, I think that worked, and the estranged father's bit, which we'll come on to afterwards, because we've got some correspondence about John Lithgow, who I thought was terrific, actually.
But from another film?
Yes.
But clearly from another film.
You're from another planet.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
So the Martians review of this film is, what does it mean?